Like a quick turnaround, isn't it?
Just a little bit.
How have the last 24 hours been, and what's sort of the next 30 hours looking like?
Well, I hope they're better than the last 30 hours I've had anyway. So yeah, that's the idea. No, I mean obviously, difficult for us the other night because even watching it back, I generally thought it was a 50-50 game that we've lost 4-1, which is hard to swallow. So there's also all sorts of stuff that we need to tidy up and be better at. I was a lot more pleased with what we produced with the ball the other night. But yeah, we got done by obviously a couple of errors and a couple of real poor pieces of defending that I don't want to see again if possible. And I'll try and rectify that by the decision I make: one, picking the team, and two, making the players available to us that can, I think, put performance in that is deserved of the shirt that they've got.
I'm curious to know how you sort of digest a defeat like that, because like you say, you had your moments in the game, certainly, and so straight after you're frustrated, quite angry, then you get yourself 24 hours to sort of look back on it like you mentioned. How do you sort of take all of that information?
You know what, you very rarely watch it back and it makes you think differently to being at the time, but obviously you're watching it back with less emotion, so you're watching it with a clearer mind. But a lot of the time you find yourself actually, what I seen and what I thought was exactly what happened. It's just that if I was ever speaking to players or you guys, I'd probably be able to describe it a little bit more articulate on a Monday morning or a Thursday morning, Tuesday morning, wherever it may be, than I would straight after the game, because obviously inside I'm raging, but I'm obviously trying to give a reasonable response to what I've seen. You
mentioned obviously about the defensive errors, sloppy passing as well. Is that something you can address in 48 hours before the next game?
Not really. Well, you can, but only by showing and telling. I think it's one of them where ultimately when the players cross the white line, there's not much control you have on it. There's experienced players in there, there's a couple of young players in there, but you can only show examples of when we do it well, when we haven't done it particularly well, the areas of the pitch you want us to do it, the type of passes that you're prepared to accept that don't go from A to B, i.e. forward passes. I'll never really have a pop and a problem with a player that looks to play the ball forward and be positive. The ones I have a real issue with are the squaring back passes, because it's a negative pass, it's a negative thought. I think that's not sort of my sort of style.
I know you said before the game you want people to start seeing what a Michael Appleton team looked like, and obviously you went to the back four. How did you sort of retrospectively look at that now? Obviously you started the four centre halves. Did you feel like you had all the balance throughout the team that you'd like?
No, well, I certainly thought we were miles better. Obviously the scoreline doesn't suggest that. That's why I was frustrated. I thought it was a 50-50 game that sort of could have gone either way, and we've ended up losing it 4-1, which was a bit mind-blowing really and baffling. But definitely in terms of an attacking prowess, I thought we will look more threatening. We passed the ball much better. Still nowhere near what I would want, but it's definitely a starting point, definitely something to build on, and hopefully we'll get the opportunity to do that over the next few games.
More than ever now, football's a game where pressure comes like in a snap of fingers. I know it's just one competitive win for you at the moment. Do you feel a lot of pressure when you're in the...
I feel a lot of personal pressure on myself because I don't like losing games. I obviously clearly walked into a situation where the club are used to losing games on a regular basis, and we've not been able to shake that, unfortunately. So from my point of view, the sooner we can do that, the better. It does take time, because this is an issue that's gone on for a long time, and it's not just last season before as well. So there's probably 2 or 3 years, or certainly at least 2 seasons where this has been going on. So to address that takes a bit of time, and it does. Whether you get time or not, it's another issue. So, but I can't think like that, and I'll never think like that. Yeah, you've just got to be brave enough to take what's coming me, or take the criticism, take all the strife that goes with it, but be sort of brave enough to sort of know what the answers are and try and help the players to come up with those answers.
We spoke about it before pre-season, but you sort of worry and feel that might be a bit of a hangover from last season?
I think there clearly is an hangover, and I said that the other day. I was hoping there wasn't, and during pre-season it felt right, the mood felt right. And obviously, within the space of 10 days or so, that seems to have sort of disappeared a little bit. So there clearly is, that's why I made the point, listen, I'm going to pick a team and, more importantly, a group that are going to travel with us today, ready for tomorrow's game, that I think are absolutely 100% rowing in the right direction. And there's going to be a couple of difficult decisions that I've already sort of made in my mind, but ultimately possibly could affect the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I'm doing it from a place where 100% with the best interest of the club at heart.
You've obviously got the mental side of football now for all these players, and you take into the account of social media as well. How do you sort of cope with all that, especially with such a large group as well?
Well, I can't speak for the players, obviously, but for myself, I don't do social media, so that helps. And I never have for the last, 15, 20 years or whatever it is. One, because I'm not particularly great at it as well. I'm not great with IT and social media and all that type of stuff, so I stick away with it. So I'll leave that to the analysts and people like that. I can get by and I can deliver a presentation, but I'm not great at making them. I'm not. Look, the reality is, as a manager, if you don't win games of football, you're going to get some stick, and that's the world we live in. Sometimes the context gets missed out a little bit, and I think if people can see beyond that and see what the context is, I think people's expectations will be a lot lower than probably what they should be. It's a difficult moment for us at the minute, but I think there's enough in there for us to get through this period. I think that obviously a couple of new recruits would give everyone a little bit of a lift. But I do believe for us to move forward, I really do believe for us to move forward, there has to be 3 or 4 that have to leave.
Right. You mentioned after the game on Wednesday that it was a vocal dressing room, quite a few people were speaking up. Is that what you want to see? Because I remember last season, obviously, we spoke about the softness to the team.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that sort of also show you that everyone's 100% all in as well?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. I think everyone's as frustrated as each other. And like I say, it was good because a lot of time in them moments, it's expected that the manager has to pick the players up. But the reality is, when you come off the back of a result like we had, and the way the game went, on top of obviously sort of previous sort of results, I think it was important that they recognise that. And the reality is, as coaches, as analysts, as managers, as sports scientists, as medical people, you can only put them in a place where they're ready to go and perform, and then it's down to them. And I said it, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I said the reality is managers don't win games, players win games. But on the flip side of that, players lose games as well. And managers lose jobs, and that's the world that we're in. So we have to find a way to make sure that you get them in the right frame of mind, that they think they're capable of winning it. And you do that by little things like, scoring the first goal gives you a brilliant opportunity to win any game of football, whether it's from non-league football up to the Champions League. The stats are massively high. The team that scores first very rarely loses the game. But I'd go even further back than that, we're in a position where I challenge the players that if we do concede, because that can happen at any time, if we do concede, don't concede a second. Give yourself the best opportunity you've got of getting something out of that game, because we've seen it a million times where a team's 1-0 down and it's 5 minutes on the clock and there's probably another 5 minutes added. You score the next goal and you probably go on to win the game. You don't really lose the game. So there's a few obstacles that we have to cross and get over as a group, and it's still really, really early days. And if on Saturday one of those obstacles is the one where we go behind instead of going ahead, then that's the challenge we've got to give ourselves.
How are you feeling ahead of Saturday, Swindon?
I'm looking forward to it. I watched them the other night. I was at the game. They have a style of play that suits them and has worked for them. Ollie went in obviously last year and did ever so well. Obviously it was a difficult start for him, but they went on a fantastic run, finished mid-table or whenever it was, and you know, it is difficult to play against, and you've got to be mentally right, you've got to be physically right. But I do think it's a game that we can win.
Fitness of the squad, any fresh concerns?
No fresh concerns. I would have been very surprised after the other night if anyone sort of like declared themselves unfit for this weekend. But no, and hopefully Mal is available to come back in with the squad. Other than that, obviously, you know, we've got Max who's long term, etc. So yeah, we are where we are.
You mentioned that 3 or 4 might be leaving. I'm just curious, is that through conversations you had with them, you don't sort of think they're the right fit, or maybe their heart's not in it?
Both.
Yeah. Are those expected anytime soon, do you know?
Hopefully, yeah. It's not as easy as that though, is it? You know. Yeah. For us to move forward as a group, I know it's a bit of a statement, but for us to move forward as a group, it has to happen, unfortunately. Yeah.
Any closer to any incomings, conversations progressed at all?
There's certainly good conversations going on at the minute, but obviously we won't be the only team who are interested in obviously talented players. So I think you know, we'll continue to be as aggressive as we can and see what we can do from that point of view. There's still, you know, over a week or so left. So I think between now and the end of the window, I'm hoping and quite confident there'll be a couple of new faces in.
Obviously Mickey Moore left a week ago today. Are you sort of more hands-on with the transfers, obviously with his absence now? Absolutely,
yeah. It feels like it used to be, where, you know, I've got almost that direct link into agents, and to be fair, I've always had that anyway because of the various roles that I've had. Just means that I've been spending a lot more hours on the phone, a lot more hours in the car watching games and meeting players, etc. Than I have done for a while. But if that's what it takes to sort of turn this thing around, that's what we'll do.